Hi guys, and welcome to a video I've been meaning to make for about a year now. I am in the process of planning my next cycle tour in France, and I did one last year, partly along the Eurovelo 1 and partly along the Eurovelo 4, and I've been asked quite a few times now to, say how I did it or how I planned it rather, and I'm finally gonna do that now. Now, I grew up cycle touring and my parents planned them all on paper maps. Obviously, you don't have to do that anymore and you don't have to carry paper maps with you. So I'm going to show you how I personally plan cycle tour routes, like multi-day routes on Komoot. Komoot is a website and a phone app that you can use to plan your routes and adventures, and then you can use it to navigate as well. Full disclosure, I work for Komoot because they're amazing. But I use their product for pretty much everything that I do outside. And because I use them, then this is also just how I plan my cycle tours. So this is what I'm going to show you today. What I will show you is Komoot Premium, because I have Komoot Premium, so I can't show you how I do it without that. But there are plenty of functionalities of Komoot that you can do for free, and you could use it to plan a cycle route as well. For free if you want to. One of the benefits with Premium is that you can create like multi-day collections, which is what I'm going to show you. And that's just the easiest way that I would plan a multi-day cycle tour. But again, you can plan them individually, the days individually, so you don't have to have Premium to do that. Also, while I'm planning on Komoot, you don't have to. This is just how I plan, like I'm just using it to show you how I plan a cycle tour, but you could use anything else, or you could even use paper maps if you want to. I say that like it's crazy, like you could even use paper maps if you want to. You can use paper maps if you want to. This is just how I work out distances and, where I'm going to go during the week that I'm going to be cycle touring. So you can take this method and apply it to any way that you like to plan routes X, Y, Z. Personally, I just use Komoot and it's amazing, and that's how I navigated my last cycle tour. So let's get started. So this is what the Komoot homepage looks like. It takes you straight to the Discover feed, which we do not want for this. So we're going to go to Route Planner. And this is the south of England. So I'm going to take the ferry. I've already booked this. I'm taking the ferry from Plymouth, and there's a ferry that comes down here to Roscoff, which is here. So I'm taking this ferry route, and I am a big fan of this ferry because it's just so easy. It's so easy, especially if you live down in the southwest like I do. Anyway, so first I need to come up here and change my sport type to bike touring. I'm gonna say my fitness is in good shape. I don't know how accurate that is. Probably a good shape. I mean, I have been training quite a lot recently. Anyway, and then I'm going to start basically at the end of the Port Road. So I'm going to press start here. And this is the Eurovelo one. So on Komoot, it has the Eurovelos marked on and different other like official cycle routes. So I know that I'm going to be cycling for a week. I also know that last year when I arrived in Roscoff as well and I had a week, I did around 300 kilometres. So some days were too hard and I didn't realise how hilly it was. Because while I have all the elevation gain information, I can't necessarily picture that in my head or think about how it's going to feel when I've got a bike loaded down with really heavy panniers. So I know I want to go roughly 300 kilometres this time, but probably have a little bit less elevation gain. But basically, I just want to do a different route from before. So before, last year, I cycled from Roscoff here. I cycled along the Eurovelo, which is the purple line, and I got to Lognan and then up here to a campsite near here. And this day was super hard because this is a really hilly coastline. And so I was going to cycle along the coast here and then come down through here. But instead I came back through Lognan and then cycled across the countryside down here to Cae, stayed here and then cycled up this Eurovelo to Morlaix and then back to Roscoff. And that whole thing took a week. It was about 300 kilometers. It was great. So now I sort of feel like I've explored this area a little bit. So I want to come down to this side because again, a week isn't very far. I also don't want to be cycling the whole, like, for long days because, like, I'm not in it to beat myself up. I'm in it to have a really nice time and mainly eat my way through France and stop in villages where I want to and look at whatever, I want to look at. So it's going to be a pretty easy time. Also, bear in mind, while this route planner is going to tell me how many hours roughly it will take me to do each distance, it cannot know that I'm carrying a lot of weight on my bike. Obviously, you cycle a lot more slowly when you're carrying a lot of weight, and I never cycle with panniers and I never cycle with weight on my bike, so it takes a while to get into it as well. So bear in mind that this is why I've learnt now after last year to take it really easy. So I'm going to be doing quite short days, like 45-kilometer days, and that's deliberate because I'm going to be carrying way more weight on my bike. So this is how I start. So I started with A, and I know I want to follow the coast in this direction. So you can kind of trust with Komoot that it's going to take you the nicest possible way. So I'm just going to set this as my destination. It's not that I want to stop there necessarily, it's just so I can more easily micromanage my route planning. So I'm just going to drag the blue line so it follows the purple line, because the purple line is an official cycle route. And that means that it's probably at some point been looked at and created, and someone's gone, yeah, this is the best way for bikes. So I'm just going to trust that. You can also look at highlights on Komoot. Oh, not that. You can check out highlights and see sort of like things that you might want to see. And I do use those for route planning as well. But right now I'm just going to keep going along the coastline. So it automatically follows this purple line here. And I'm going to get down to this. And I'm going to drag that back to the purple line, just because then I can have a more accurate kind of distance there. Okay, 31 kilometres, so I know that's fine. And then let's go over here and make sure that it sticks to this cycle route. Okay, so and I keep zooming out and zooming in again so I know how far I'm going. So I know I want to come down here because I had a look at this map earlier and I really want to come through this regional park because it looks really beautiful, and also love a river. Also, river's quite flat. So my dream is just to basically be cycling along a river or a canal or something. Not necessarily because it's flat, just because they're always so beautiful. So I saw this river, and the purple line is a cycle route. But so if you zoom in, you can see that there's a river here. And the French love to build chateaux on their rivers. Basically, I want to come and follow this. And then I'll get to Kai again. Because I want to follow that, I need to get down that far south quite quickly. So I can't spend too much time, dicking around here or anything. Well, it's as beautiful as it looks, and I have actually been there before, but I can't spend too much time there because I don't have that long. I've only got a week, and I want to definitely get down here. So that's kind of how I begin route planning, is I think, where do I definitely want to go to, and how can I get there in the time that I have? I'm going to, look, there's a green route here. That's another cycle path. So I'm going to see if I drag this down there, it will automatically follow that green line. It won't always do that, but these cycle paths tend to be the best place to cycle, so Komoot will agree with you. You can zoom in and sort of make it as close as possible to it. And there's a manoir I've got here, and now I'm going to keep following, I think. I'm going to keep following this green line down. So, as yet, I'm not going to do any research on where these places are or what there is to see. Interesting. I'm just going to, so far, map out the distance that I think I can probably do in the time available to me. We're currently at 70 kilometres, so I'm trying to get to about 300. I've never been to Brest, and it looks really nice. I don't know if I'll have time to get there, but I'm gonna try. Maybe I'll get to there and see how we go. And so there's another cycle path here. I'm gonna drag that down because this will probably be the more beautiful route as well. A windmill without a picture. An abbey. You can also choose highlights like this and set as endpoints. So instead of just making a waypoint, you can use a highlight to do that. And then someone's legs. Excellent. So we'll go down here too, and then where are we? Okay, so we're almost at the river. So I'm going to follow this purple line all the way down. What is that? That looks cool. And you can include these on the route as well. I mean, technically the route already goes past it, but this kind of will ping up when you'll see it when you're navigating. Okay, so I've got to here. Now I want to start making my way towards the river. And while there's no more, official bike routes or anything along here, you can, komoot will still take you to, the direct, it'll choose the best place for you to cycle anyway. So now I want to pick up this cycle route. Very nice. And then I bet if I select that, and then probably if I now go all the way to Carhay, let's stop here. It will probably do the whole thing for me. Oh, not quite. Okay, so it's following the river in some places, not all of them. So I just hug it to the river basically because that is the route I want to take. I don't know what it's actually like, but it's a French river. It's going to be amazing. And funnily enough, there's actually two routes here. There's the purple route along there, and then on the other side of the river, there's this green route. So maybe, I can always chop and change, do what I want. Doesn't really matter. So that's got me to there. I happen to know that there is a lovely campsite there in Carhay because I stayed there last year and it was absolutely epic. It's such a cool campsite. I can't recommend it highly enough. It's basically like a municipal campsite. It might be a municipal campsite, but it's just so wicked. It's so beautiful. It's riverside. It's paradise. So I'm going to set that as the end point and then it will just take me the easiest way. Nice. Perfect. Now from Carhay, I know, so I've got 233 kilometers so far. That looks good. So from Carhay, I know I want to get back onto this, which is the Eurovelo 1. Is it? Yeah, Eurovelo 1. So if you zoom in far enough, it will show you what the name of the route is. So I for sure want to be going there. So it'll take me up there, and I remember that there's a very big hill somewhere around here. And then it snakes through this incredible landscape. It's an old railway line, so it's really level. In fact, I think for a lot of it, it might go ever so slightly downhill sometimes, so you get some free speed. So I can just then zoom into Morlaix, which is, again, super beautiful. I'm just gonna mark that as the new endpoint, and then it will probably follow the whole way apart from that bit. So there's all these old station buildings. They're wicked. Yeah, so this now has routed me all the way through there from Carhay, and we're up to 281 kilometers. Wicked. So now I want to follow the EV1 back to there, and you can click round trip and it will go straight back to that point, or you can obviously click end point somewhere near it, or whatever you want to do. Lots of exciting things. So now I'm up to 310 kilometers, perfect, and 2,660 meters of elevation gain over the whole route, which is good because last time it was over 3,000 and that was tough. So zooming out, this is the route that I can see. It's the other side of this region to where I went last year, so that's perfect. It takes me to this river, which is what I basically want to cycle along. And it takes me to this area here, which just looks so cool and so green and beautiful. Like, this is only the very beginning of my planning. So I've got the distance now that I want. Obviously, this might not turn out to be the exact final route because, you know, I'll need to find campsites and stuff. But this looks like a pretty good provisional route. If I went further this way, then I wouldn't get to this river in time. I'd have to do some longer days, and I just don't want to do that. So now what I do is save tour. Brittany. Okay, save the tour. There are several ways to do this, but basically I've saved the tour, and it's obviously, this is the full 300 kilometer thing. But obviously I want to do it over multiple days. Yes, please. So plan day by day itinerary. How many days? So I have 7 days to do this in. So I click that. I'm not doing it on an e-bike, although that might be nice. Don't want to reverse it, blah, 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 blah. Overall difficulty level is expert. Don't be too put off by expert. It doesn't really mean you have to be a pro cyclist, because you'll literally be cycling a few hours a day. It's basically broken it down into 7 days, and this is where the real planning begins. But that's probably, the real detail of it is probably a video for another day. But I'm just going to give a couple of examples of how I would then go on to do the next stage of the planning. So this is actually breaking it down into the days that I will be cycling. So I'm going to arrive in Roscoff at 8 in the morning after taking an overnight ferry. And that means I'm going to be tired. I'm probably not going to want to cycle that far. I'm definitely going to want to stop off at a supermarket and spend at least an hour looking at all the delicious food. So I don't want to be doing this far probably. And this isn't very far, but you've got to remember when you're cycle touring that you are going to be carrying so much weight. Like, we travel very lightly, like extremely lightly. But like, I have an ultralight tent. It's fantastic. It is literally this big for 2 of us. But then we have sleeping bags, thermarests, our clothes, and my Oatly panniers alone. My Oatly panniers alone weigh a ton. So it all adds up. And when I put my panniers on my bike to go cycle touring, I was suddenly like, oh, okay. And like, it's so difficult. It's so you've really, I mean, practice ideally, but with the actual stuff that you're going to be taking with you so that you know the weight of your bike, but it's so back heavy as well. And it's just, like, this isn't bike packing, this is cycle touring. So there's a lot of weight. So you don't think of the distance when you're planning a cycle route in terms of the distance that you might go on a bike ride on a Sunday. Like, they're not even closely related. You need to really shorten that up, especially if you've got any hills in the way. This is 320 meters of elevation just this first day currently. So no, I'm not going to want to do that, I know. Also, you can obviously adjust your route while you're there, but in the planning stages, I not only don't want to be doing 51 kilometre a day on the first day, but I also want to sleep by the beach because, you know, for obvious reasons. I'm only doing 1 coastal day in this one because I want to get down to that river. So I'm actually going to get rid of these waypoints. And stop about here, or I guess about here. And maybe I can find a campsite or something around here. Oh, look, there's one. Brilliant. Set as new endpoint. Okay, we'll get rid of that. Okay, so now that looks much better. So 42 kilometres, 210 metres of elevation gain. So that is now going to be my draft first day. I'm going to end there at a campsite. And now it will have automatically altered the start point of day 2 to meet the end point of day 1, and this is amazing. I don't know what other navigation tools will do that, but I know that this one does, and I love it. Okay, so I want to... I guess that'll probably have a supermarket in here somewhere, so that probably is a good way to go. That might be a road that I don't want to cycle down, but maybe it'll be alright. And then I want to get back probably on this green route because it'll be prettier. So what are we at? 60 kilometres. That's too far for a start. So let's see where it ends. Oh wow, okay. Don't want to end there. Because I don't want to end there because it's in the middle of a random place. Like, it might be really beautiful, but it's hard to describe how I plan this. But basically, I probably want to stop around here somewhere or on the very edge of Brest, because I'm not sure I want to go fully into Brest to camp there. I mean, for a start, it's a large town, so there's not going to be camping like here. I don't think. But maybe there'll be campsites kind of around here. Let's stop around here somewhere, because I'm sure there'll be a campsite somewhere near there. So I'm going to delete the other waypoints because I don't want to be going that far. When you put a new waypoint in, an endpoint, it will, try and get back to it in the closest way. So just delete those. This line here, when it goes burgundy, it's just showing what the previous version was, so you don't have to worry about that. Anyway, so now this is a 38 kilometre day, 260 metres of elevation, fine. Again, it says 2 hours and 26 minutes, which is obviously not a very long day's riding, but it will take me a lot longer than that because I will be carrying a lot of weight. I will also be stopping in lots of these places in between, and I will be visiting patisserie and boulangerie, so I can stuff my face with food, and look at things and stop and make a little coffee on my stove. It's so nice to not have long days, but also it means that if I get here early afternoon or something and find a campsite here, then I can maybe dump my stuff off, set up my tent, and then ride without my panniers into Brest, which is now a doable distance, but I won't have to A, look after my stuff while I'm there, and B, carry that weight into Brest with me. So I can just stop here. So suddenly that is looking like a much more manageable day. So basically I just keep going around and doing this until it all works out. If it turns out that I need to take big detours to find campsites or whatever, then I will shorten the route in another way. But you need to start with your general shape of the route and where you definitely want to go, and have in mind the places that you can cut out or take a more direct route or whatever. So this is how I basically start planning my routes. And I make sure that I, meet up, that I have enough time to catch the ferry on the way back or X, Y, Z. Now, let's say I just accepted this whole route and it was fine and I stopped planning there. Oh yeah, another thing that you get on Komoot is it tells you what kind of paths and stuff. It tells you the surface type that you can expect. So a lot of this will be quiet lanes. In France you get these tractor routes as well, which I can't remember what they're called, but they're basically for tractors, so they're they keep tractors off main roads, and they're fantastic for cycling because you don't really get many tractors on them, but they're really, really quiet and just beautiful. So a lot of this is cycle paths as well. So this whole section here, for instance, that is all just cycle path, it's traffic-free cycle path. It's absolutely incredible. And this, by the looks of it, this river as well, that's going to be a traffic-free cycle path. So I'm just gonna, well, I don't know what happened there. I'm just gonna press save, and this turns into a collection now, and this is part of Komoot Premium. So the whole route planning experience isn't Komoot Premium, but the fact that it's now saved it as a collection, which is just a collection of individual tours grouped together. So now you can see in one nice collection, I've got 7 different cycle rides basically. I've got day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. And they're just grouped together in this really nice collection, which is wicked. But again, you don't actually have to have premium to like actually plan and navigate these routes. Unless you don't have any internet, in which case you would need that to navigate it. But that's how I plan it. And again, you can use anything you want or paper maps to do this. And you can go into each tour as well. These are called tours in Komoot, individual like routes like this. You can obviously change the title. You can see more information about it, see its elevation profile. This is really useful. And you can share it with people, invite people, edit it again, and you can edit this individual tour. It will warn you that editing this will affect other tours in that collection, fine. But you can just go in, you know, and add in highlights that you might want to see on the way or whatever. Oh, that looks nice. I want to go there for sure. And then save it. So this is part of the collection. So all of these exist together in day tours. And that's basically how and you can also put a nice picture here. That's basically how I plan my cycle routes. Now, after this, I do a lot more planning. Actually, that's not even true. I don't do a lot more planning. I basically go to Google and I find the endpoints of these tours and I look up the campsites there. Campsites along the coast, I mean, they're literally 10 a penny. They're absolutely everywhere on Brittany's coastline. You can't move for campsites and they're all super cheap, especially for cycle tourers. There is like, it's just so well set up for cycle touring. So you'll find really like dirt cheap campsites everywhere you go along the coastline. When you get inland, sometimes you have to go quite far to find a campsite because it's just like endless rolling fields and woodlands. The villages are quite small and you know, it's not really set up for tourism in a way that the coast is. So I'm not too worried about planning campsites in coastal areas, but the second you get inland, like I personally do plan where I'm going to a campsite. I like to know that, you know, I don't have to think about that. I don't have to get somewhere and then like find a campsite to find that it's closed or it's out of season, because we're going in June, which everything is in season, but still like some stuff is out of date. So like if you look at a paper map, that campsite might not be there anymore. So I tend to look at the endpoints of where these are, find campsites. I don't like book anything usually. In June, I've never come across a campsite there that is fully booked, but some campsites are super tiny. So they might be, in fact in Morlaix, there's a beautiful tiny little campsite just like up the hill from the town, and that was pretty much full when we arrived last year. So we were lucky to get a space. It would, like just with cycle tours actually, but obviously it was literally someone's like garden. So there was like maybe 15 pitches. There are a lot of campsites in France they're quite basic, especially in these more rural areas inland. So like I like to at least have an idea of where the campsites are and that they're still open and running. Normally they've got some kind of website. It's nothing like you'd find in the UK usually, but there's some indication of what season they're open for, you know, so a couple of pictures that you can get the gist of it and it's fine. So I go back when I found the campsites that I want to stay at, or I think I want to stay at, then I go back into Komoot and I finish each tour at that campsite or where that is. And that's pretty much, when it comes to navigating, it's super easy. I can do that on my phone. There are steps you can take to save your battery, however you're navigating, even if you're just using Google Maps, which I do not recommend for cycle touring, but some people do. That's how I plan my cycle tours. The main part of this is that you know the exact distance and the exact elevation gain that you're going to be doing every day, and that you can see that it all fits together in a nice loop. That is really the most important part, because it's pretty unpleasant to get 2 days in and realise that when you were comfortable at home, you planned a 70, 80 kilometre or mile route, because you can do that at home, but then you're carrying like X amount of kilos of luggage, and you really do not want to be doing that on a beautiful summer's day when you would far prefer to take it easy and just enjoy the views. So always plan significantly less distance than you think that you're capable of doing, because like, unless you're trying to get somewhere very quickly and you want to do really long days, I don't know, like that for me is not what cycle touring is about. It's just pedaling along and having a nice time. So for that reason, that's why I'm doing sort of 40-45 kilometre days, because it's just much more pleasant. And then you have time in the evening to set up your tent in maybe late afternoon, early evening, and then go and explore the village or the town that you've camped next to. And you can just chill out, go to the supermarket, cook some food on your camping stove, whatever you want to do without just arriving somewhere late, putting up your tent, leaving, go in the morning. Anyway, I hope that was useful. If you want more planning videos, let me know. And I can, or if you want more detail about how to use something like Komoot, then I can do that too. I hope that you go on lots of amazing cycle tours, because it's such a great way to travel and it's so much fun, and I cannot wait to go. I'm going in not that long now, because it's already not the end of April, it's the middle of April, and my cycle tour is the middle-ish of June, so super excited. Anyway, if you're going to go cycle touring, let me know how you plan yours and where you're going to go. So yeah, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Bye!